Welcome to Real Bass Lessons. Today I want to teach you a little bit more on what I did a lesson about previously, what I called the non-jazz 2-5. See, if you're talking to the true jazz player, the jazz Nazi, and you're not playing swing, well, he just doesn't think it's jazz. And if you're talking to sort of like funk players, or maybe a little bit of rock players, and you start doing any sort of 2-5, diatonic kind of thing, they're going, oh man, that's jazz. Well, it doesn't really matter what it is, but I think I'll want to explain a little bit how I think of playing in this sort of, I call it a funk thing, but again, it's an old thing, maybe an R&B, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, check it out. I'll play it a little bit, and then I'll start to discuss it. Good, you got the tonality. Good. Now everybody knows that pentatonic sound, of course. If you don't, you need to work it out. And then all the little inversions of the pentatonic as you go up, sure. We need to work on that stuff. But now, to get it sound a little more jazzy, we start using a few extra notes. Check this out, for example. Here's D minor. Sure. And here's G7. By the way, often when I think of 2-5-1, or not 2-5-1, 2-5, D minor to G7, if you're playing sort of a little funky groove, it's just G7. Now, if you're thinking jazz 2-5-1, it leads to C major. But here we're just listening to that little sound that goes with it. And it sounds like this, really. Here's the third and here's the seventh of D minor. And then we go to G7. Sure, so there's a little bit of a tension, suspension, resolution, huh? So again, here's that D minor. Here's that G7. Now watch this. I'm going to play with those, but then I'm going to add a few of the notes and then I'll explain them. Yeah. Sure. Now, a real simple way that I think of this, and that is I think of when I'm playing a 2-ish, going to a 5-ish, on that 5, if I outline the chord, play a arpeggio, I don't really think of scales much. You can if you want, but I think in terms of, chordal movements. Well, if I take that G7 chord, which I just played, and I start on the 3rd, whoa, now all of a sudden it's a diminished chord starting on B. And that's one way I get tension that wants to resolve. So here again, here's D minor, G7, D minor, my B diminished. Let's look at this real slow and let's figure out a little way to practice it, okay? Let's do D minor just like this. Sure, just part of it there. That's because it fits where I'm going to play it in a minute. Play this with me. Sure, you know that sound. And then here's G7. Whoa, I didn't actually play the scale, did I? I started on the 3rd. So let's do this. Let's get a groove going. Got the idea? Listen to it now. 2, ready, Play. Made me think of teaching you this as I've been doing. I just finished a book on pentatonic practicing, and we all know the sound. Everybody does, even the rock, players who don't really think of, theory. They know that shape, that little box of the pentatonic. But most people don't know that diminished one. One more time. Let's do it here. See, there's G7. I just started on the B. By the way, this is one reason you need to work on your arpeggios a lot, so you can just mix in and out of them. Let me practice them and play them there a little bit for you on the low end. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Now some of you might say, well, Jim, you just added that one extra note, that little A flat. That's just the way I think of it, quite frankly. I don't really play like this and think of what scale or what chord I'm playing. I just think of a little bit of a tension. Yeah, that's how I think of it, okay? Good. Let me improvise a little bit more now and see if you can pick out a couple of patterns or little phrases you might like and want to steal. Ah. That's just the same little diminished scale. I just worked it out. Watch. Sure, I've used that one for years. Let me play it a couple more times. Ah, you see what I did there? I just took that little pentatonic, we all know. I moved it up a half step for the G7. Gave me a whole bunch of tensions, didn't it? Is this making sense? Cool. Now let me play a little solo now. I won't play so many of these tensions at once. And you can see how you sort of sneak them in. It's like, oh, nice. And then it comes back. Check it out. Here we go. I'll add that bass line. That'll give you a little stuff to pick through, huh? Sure. Work with the real simple little sounds I did earlier. I showed you. Work them out over and over. Practice them so you can get them in time. And then your ear will start to take over eventually after you know the sound well enough. Fire it up.